One of the things that's been happening this week that's really odd is that because the Essence technique is coming up, I am paying more attention to my body. And so it's funny how symptoms kind of sneak up on you. And for the last year or so, there have been a couple of things. And I was sort of thinking that's just normal for me, or it's my mattress, or, something like that. And so, as I've been working on the workshop, it just makes me pay more attention to my body. And so what happened was I decided to go to this really awesome chiropractor and massage therapist. And the basic premise of what I'm about to share is there isn't anything that happens in your body that isn't directly connected to the messages that consciousness has been trying to tell us all the way along. So when I went to the chiropractor, they did some x-rays, and what I got shown is some stuff that I just had no idea. And at first I thought, oh my God, my body is falling apart. So I don't know if you guys have ever had this where you have things in your body and then you're like, oh my God, like what's wrong with me? Or you kind of get a little bit like there's something wrong. Does this relate to anybody? Yeah, right. So, so what happened was I realized that no matter what symptom is going on in the body, first of all, it has something to say. Second, so one of the symptoms was in my neck, which makes perfect sense. And the other one was at my lower two vertebrae, given that I was a figure skater and I fell on my tailbone like a cajillion times. So he started to show me what is looking like arthritis. And I thought, well, first of all, that makes a lot of sense given some of the symptoms I've been having. And then I thought, well, wait a second. Everything but everything is transmutable. As long as we listen to what the body is saying, it doesn't really matter that that I have some outgrowths or some outcroppings. What matters is that in the universe, an acorn can grow to an oak tree. And what also matters is that my body's been trying to tell me subtly. And even the fact that we're doing the Essence Technique workshop, it was a great excuse to have me, be congruent with doing the workshop and really listening. And that's what I wanted to do. It's like I really want to listen on a much deeper level and see what's going on. Lo and behold, I did the Essence Technique on my upper cervical spine and on my lower spine. And the interesting thing is that we run around trying to get somewhere. This is what I got from the experience. I'll tell you what it said in a second for anyone that has pain in their body ever. What's more important is that, we run around and I run around, wanting to be of assistance, trying to find the way that I'm going to be a contribution to humanity, continuing to support and love up all of the people that I love, and which is everyone we work with, like you guys, and all of our clients and all of our future clients. And I realized that at a much deeper level, even though I'm incredibly inspired to it all, there was still a portion, something you said, Jeannie, earlier really hit home. I have been still been attached to a vision of what the world looks like at the other end that is going to be working out the way it works out, and it won't always be the people, I think, and it won't always, certain people, certain parts of our community will not come along. They're going to get kicked out to go on a different part of their journey. And what happened was I saw how many of us, including me, want to continue to feel safe by keeping, we have this picture in our mind that we have to continue to let go of, and the holding on to the pretty picture of, oh, but I don't want them not do our alumni program called Wings. People who do flight school then go to Wings, and I get all sad. I'm like, but we're supposed to stay together. That's my picture, right? Or oh my gosh, the difference between having to do a program versus being inspired to do a program because it's presenting to do it. All in all, we're so busy. At first I thought, well, the essence would be too much. But then I thought, no, it's presenting to do it. I mean, what happened in the last Get Out of Your Own Way with the Essence Technique was so world changing that it's time really to teach the program itself. So instead of it matching my picture, so I noticed that control sits at the top and sits at the bottom of my spine. And as I realized all there is to do, if consciousness really has our backs and we are incredibly loved and everything happens for us, every last bit of control, no matter if someone's running a business, if you have 5 kids, if you have 1 kid, it doesn't matter what your version of life is. It's like everything you need is right in front of you. Everything you need is presenting. If you learn the language of consciousness and how it's always been communicating with you and how it's communicating with you right now, if you learn that, if you become masterful at it, what happens is the symptoms start to loosen up. The symptoms start to go away because they become unnecessary. But is it a bad thing to have a symptom in your body? No, it's not like I freaked out. At first I could have freaked out because like, oh my God. And, according to lots of, these things are irreversible according to many practitioners, but they're not. They may not be reversible in our medical perception of things, but the need for the tree shaking pain or to be so debilitated or for you to play out your genetic history is not necessary. So the instant I saw where this fear came from, a little bit of a need for safety based on a couple of events that happened, a little bit of wanting to create home. So, I like wanting to create a community that felt like home. So I didn't have to be scared out in the big, scary world. A little bit of, oh my God, is this really about being seen? At a whole other level, a little bit of a bunch of stuff. But the instant I got it, that all there is to do is play and that everything I need, no matter what comes up, even the scariest stuff, it's always going to present. And if I get distracted by what my mind thinks it wants, I won't see what it is that's presenting. So it's the way the ego keeps us caught in a trap. So that is why we're doing the Essence Technique. We're doing the Essence Technique both to assist people with transmuting those symptoms. We're doing the Essence Technique together so that people can actually understand the communication with their body so that they can live in the present moment and actually experience firsthand that everything's happening for them, so that people can have the freedom and not be distracted by symptoms, and be in the present, and such that people can gain some mastery around going direct with their greatest guide. So that is why we're doing the Yesence technique. Comments, questions about Yesence, y'all? Any questions about what I said or about your body?
I have a question.
Sure.
It's almost not even a question, but I just want to tell you this and just kind of see what you think about it. Like, Jen and I had a long conversation yesterday about me doing some processing around my parents' death. And how do I explain this? Like, it's something that happened to me, and I dealt with it really well. And I knew when it happened that there would be like emotional nuclear fallout for the next several years, and that at some point that it would kind of bloop. And that point has kind of happened over the past few months. And now I'm kind of having to deal with some of the residual. But one of the things that was scariest for me is that they both died of the same thing, and they both died in the same week and had no contact with each other for a very long time. I think that you guys know that. So it was kind of an odd situation. They both died of emphysema and really kind of suffered. It was kind of a terrible death. Yeah. So for me, like, mortality and kind of a fear of death energetically has been kind of what I've intercepted from that situation. And I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on grief and fear of death and mortality and all that translating into kind of how your blueprint for your own body works for the future and what that looks like. Does that make sense?
Yes, that is a great question. So it's partially, I think I hear you asking, how much does genetics play in the future of your health?
Yeah, and not just genetics, but I think that there's a cultural aspect. I mean, because I'm not going to die of emphysema, I don't smoke. But there's not just a cultural aspect in terms of the way people behave, but I think an energetic and ancestral DNA type of cultural aspect that kind of comes down. So I'm wondering how to protect or shield yourself from some of that, maybe.
Well, okay, so here is the number one cause of life, Amber. The number one cause of life is actually doing what you came here to do. So let's back up a couple of things, like even what I just said in the Yesence technique. The number one cause of death is not living the life you came here to live. So I'm going to say that again. The number one cause of death is not living the life that you came here to live. The number one cause of suffering is resisting the life you came here to live. And sometimes you don't even know you're resisting, so sometimes it's not receiving help. So the number one cause of having it go slow or having it be painful is not getting the assistance you need. Like resisting, like somehow someone told you that you needed to do it all by yourself. So the answer to the biggest answer to the question that you just asked is what I just said, is the resistance to actually fully choosing to be here. As long as you're not fully choosing to be here, and I understand why people wouldn't fully choose to be here, because when both of your parents die, you know, in your case, and there's so many people that have other reasons why, you know, why not to, it doesn't seem like a really great thing to stick around anymore. Like, I'm not really fully choosing. It's not even that you don't want to stick around. It's that you don't want to fully show up. Why would I fully show up when there's such painful crap out there? But there's a whole story about that. And I mean, all the way up from like Yesence to get out of your way to innate abilities to flight school, I would say that the birth of everything we do comes from my asking of, how do I fully live the life that I came here for? Like, without hedging my bets, what does it take to be fully invested in this creative, amazing life that we've been granted and see it all as a privilege? Because for many times I was not seeing it as a privilege. I was not excited to get out of bed. Still happens a couple times a year, but you know, it used to happen for months and months at a time. So the shift was understanding that we can go direct with consciousness, that we have the capacity to go direct and be communed with and be offered direction such that we can even use the most painful experiences to catalyze something else. Even the most painful experiences to me have catalyzed going deeper with this work. So it's like, how can we be more free? How can we be more in love with people? How can we be more in love with our life when all that stuff has happened? Well, we can use it to catalyze us to be able to come up 100 million feet, connect with consciousness. At first, it takes some effort and some conscious work. And then be able to see that we can flow with and dance with whatever happens rather than trying to control it so that more scary things don't happen. As soon as you try to control it, you're back into not fully choosing to be here. You're hedging your bets. It's like, I want to control this so that doesn't happen again. But people are going to die. How we respond to that, and if we could see what was really going on from 100,000 feet, and if we could actually embody the idea that they actually didn't go away, if we could actually come to terms with a form of communication with those that have passed such that, you know, they're with us. If we could do all of that, we mourn what was, but we also can be excited for what's to be. And that doesn't just apply to people dying. That applies to losing a job. We start to see that everything happens for us. I don't know how many times I said when people have passed, Amber, do you know they, like, I mean, I can feel them. Because I get to talk to dead people. So often they say stuff like, so often they say stuff like, we're right here. Like, we're right with you. We're here right now. In fact, we can help you far more. We didn't do that great a job at life at being your parents, but we love you so much that we can do all that we wish we could have done from where we are. And in fact, we're already future grateful because what you're doing is full circling all the pain of your life, which is creating freedom. It's the greatest gift you could give us to have a great life because you're creating freedom for your ancestry going forward. So that kind of wisdom becomes available without me needing to say it when we start to be able to go direct. And as you get that kind of bigger picture wisdom, what happens is you realize that there's more that you can know and that you can choose to be here more. And the more you choose to be here, the more life force comes through you. And the more life force that comes through you, it's like you can do Kundalini yoga till the cows come home, which helps you to transmute the old. But what's actually bringing the life force through you is creativity and getting on with your piece of the puzzle of heaven on earth. So yes, transmute the old, that's great. But also connecting to the reason why you're on the planet without resisting it is what has you thrive in a body on a planet. Does that make sense?
That does. I might be crying a little bit. I'm like, let me go into the darkness.
Back away from the screen.